Ever since I was a little kid, my father always had me in the woods, foraging berries and mushrooms in the spring, fishing in hidden water holes during the summer, sitting in a stand deer hunting in the fall and winter. He was by definition an outdoorsman, and like many fathers had grand expectations of his son to follow his footsteps, which I did, and for many years I did with great enthusiasm. I loved spending hours in the wilderness. The solitude and seclusion in a strange way made me feel at ease. Once you know and understand the different animal signs, and how to move with the wild instead of just through it, you find peace. But one day last hunting season my peace was forever shaken. I doubt I will ever return to that block of woods, regardless of whether I regain my nerve to go into any forest for that matter. What I saw that day stayed with me, and I believe it will never leave my mind. Like many times before, I drove my truck down the long dirt path and disappeared into the woods of the property I used to hunt. It was a section of public land that my father had always taken me to. There weren't many people brave or knowledgeable enough to even get to this road, let alone trail from it into the seemingly infinite forest surrounding you. I parked my truck, gathered my backpack, my bow and arrows, and started walking toward a small meadow about 300 to 400 yards from the pull-in my father and I had discovered and treasured for many years. Out in the middle of dense deciduous hardwood lay a secluded acre of tall grass and clover. White-tailed deer and rabbit would often graze. During the mornings and in the late evenings, a lone owl's hoot would float across the open air. I had walked this path over 1,000 times throughout the years. It went on for about 200 yards down a ridge line before you must cross a small creek, and from that crossing on it was a level walk to the edge of the meadow. The walk to the meadow was typically a very fun little hike. Songbirds would fill the air with peeps and warbles, a cool breeze rustling through the branches and leaves. But on that day, there was nothing, no deer, no birds, not even a breeze. The forest was as still and quiet as a grave. As I broke the edge of the clearing, I saw it, an abandoned ice cream truck with faded paint parked in the center of the meadow. It was clearly old and rust-covered as if it had been there for decades. I couldn't believe it. How could someone get a vehicle out there, let alone an ice cream truck? I was frozen by shock at first, but then drawn in by curiosity. I didn't see any people around, nor did I notice any sign of how it could have gotten here. No grass laid down, no trees cut out of the way. Just the truck and the meadow. I couldn't have been more than 20 feet away from the truck when I finally heard a noise coming from inside. Low moaning noises and subtle wet, squishing sounds. Everything fell silent, and my blood felt as if I had frozen in place as I saw a face looking at me. From the passenger window, a grotesque malformed face with visibly moist, swollen lips curled up into a Cheshire smile of undersized rotten, cavity-filled teeth, eyes like softballs bulging out of their sockets, yellow and bloodshot and staring directly at me. I couldn't make myself look away from this creature. Equally fearful and curious at this abomination, I stood staring back at it. A small, crooked hand raised a radio microphone to the being's mouth, to which a static crack was heard. Over the PA speaker on top of the truck, "Ooh, want a snack?" No sooner than the words were said, the creature burst into hysterical laughter. The ice cream truck began rocking back and forth as it screamed out over the speaker, and the jingle began to echo across the meadow. All I could do was run. Fear forced me to do a 180, and I sprinted as hard as I could away from the meadow. All the while I could hear the ice cream jingle as if the truck were right behind me. Nearly in tears and instinctively screaming for someone to help me, I ran as if the devil himself were chasing me all the way back to the path. When I finally reached my truck, everything had fallen silent once more. I drove away from that place and swore never to go back. Several other people from the area at the time said that. All they heard was my own terrified screams coming from the woods. To this day I can still see that terrible face in my dreams and hear that jingle.